Hello, my name is Sheila and I would like to welcome you to my podcast All About You. I love to listen to podcasts and especially conversations with famous people. However, I think everyone has a story to tell. Maybe a place you have visited, a hobby you enjoy, or anything that you feel would be of interest. I want to have conversations with lots of different people and hear their stories. So if you have a story to tell, please contact me on my email, allaboutyoupodcast@yahoo.com. So welcome back to today's podcast for All About You. Craig, welcome to the All About You podcast.
Hello, Sheila. Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure. I'm really looking forward to our conversation today.
Well, our conversation is going to be about productivity, and I am so excited about this because I love a bit of personal development.
So do I. And I know we've spoken about this briefly a while ago. We both kind of got into it and we got really excited about productivity. But I think we were with our partners at the time. And obviously this isn't for everyone. So it's really nice for us to get into the weeds and speak about productivity in detail. So I'm really excited. Let's go for it.
Good, because I know my husband Pete, he refuses to keep a diary, let alone a planner, make a to-do list. Absolutely not. So he certainly won't be listening to this conversation.
It's funny, isn't it, when you're passionate about something and you're speaking to your partner about something you're passionate about, or anyone, you suddenly see their eyes glaze over and they're off somewhere else, and then you know you should stop and wait until you can find a like-minded person.
Yeah, I think my husband, he just starts yawning. I mean, he doesn't hold back. So, yeah, I do understand that, you know, it's not a lot of people's bag, but for me, it's just so fascinating. So, Craig, how did you get into productivity then?
That's a good question. It probably started because I'm an English teacher, and obviously you have to organize your files, your papers, your materials. But I've always had a fetish for stationery, papers, diaries.
Yeah, me too.
And that goes back probably to school. I remember being very careful with very particular about the pens I used, the colouring pens I had, the paper I used, my workbooks. I've always cared about that. And I suppose that stayed with me over the years. And when it got into digital, that idea of organisation, classification, that carried on into the digital space. So maybe that's one thing we can touch on, is the difference between paper and digital.
I mean, I must admit, I'm not into digital organising at all. I mean, I like old school planners. I used to be a Filofax girl. Now I've moved on to A5 planners. I'm trying to get into bullet journaling. I mean, I guess a lot of people will not have a clue what we're talking about. which makes it quite funny. But yeah, I mean, I think my love of stationery came from my dad. I mean, he always, you know, he was back in the day, would always use a fountain pen to write a check or a letter. Gave him like a big plastic pen and he'd look at it as if you'd given him a dirty nappy. So he always, you know, Basildon Bond stationery. I mean, yeah, we're going down memory lane, you know, writing an airmail letter. Always used a fountain pen. Absolutely, yeah.
And I still have one and I still use one. And I remember someone saying to me years ago, yeah, you can use a cheap pen, but you'll probably lose it. If you get yourself a good pen, you'll really take care of it. You'll treat it well. And it will probably stay with you for years. And the fountain pen I have must be over 30 years old and I'm still using it now.
Well, that's interesting because my dad, as I said, used a fountain pen, and when he died, I gave Pete a fountain pen that my dad used.
And did he lose it?
He still got it. It was a really good. It was a Waterford pen, beautiful pen. Pete now collects fountain pens.
Oh wow!
Although he will not keep a calendar, a diary, he will always use a fountain pen. So, yeah, I mean, maybe he's going to come over to the dark side in the next 25 years.
He might be he might have a closet fetish for stationery that he hasn't come out of the closet, hasn't come out of the stationery cupboard.
Well, I have to say, Craig, the word fetish has come up twice already. The closet, so, ooh.
Well, let me explain. I find it very difficult to walk past a stationery shop and not go inside and browse, even if I don't need anything.
I'm the same.
And I don't know if you used to do this. Let's put everything out on the table now.
Yeah,
let's be perfectly honest with the audience. When you were at school in your younger days and you got a new textbook, or you went to a bookshop and bought a new book, did you open it and smell it, to smell the new paper?
I don't remember doing that, but I always remember saying to my mum when I was at primary school, because I could never work out the start of a new year, the start of a new term. To me, do I get a new exercise book? If the answer was yes, I got excited because I knew that was the start of a new year. If it was no, then it didn't matter. It's just another term. But getting a new exercise book, and even now, when I buy a new notebook, I find it very difficult to write on that first page because I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and that's my person. It's like I have to do it in pencil because it might be wrong and I'll ruin the book. Yeah. I mean, I've still got a notebook I probably bought 2 years ago in the UK. I haven't decided what I'm going to use it for because it is so beautiful. The colour, it's got the silk ribbon, good quality paper. Wow. I've had it for 2 years because I can't decide what to use it for because I don't want to make a mistake.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And I can still remember the excitement at junior school with these kind of notebooks. When I was at school, we wrote on paper that had a few lines at the bottom, and at the top it was for drawing, because you're a kid, you draw more than write. And I think we had 6 or 7 lines for a very, very short story, and then a huge plain piece of paper at the top of the same page for drawing what we'd written about. And at some stage that flipped, that changed. So we had a load of lines on the page and a very small part for the actual illustration. And that progression, that promotion to that having more lines on the page really, really excited me. And I must have been about 7 or 8, and I still remember that.
So do you read lots of productivity books and YouTube channels and all that sort of stuff?
I have done. Recently, I haven't been so on top of it. And I've got to confess that for me, it's a bit like losing weight. I know how to do productivity. I know how to be more productive. I know the tools. I've read the books. But I'm not doing it at the moment, so I'm not a good role model. And it's the same with weight. I know what I need to do, calories in, calories out, and I don't seem to be, during the lockdown that we're in at the moment, I don't seem to be losing any. So, but yes, to answer your question, I have read lots of books. I've got a couple of recommendations and favorites that we can look at. And I'm very, very interested in it. I listen to a couple of podcasts connected to productivity, and I'm constantly looking at different apps and ways of increasing productivity and organizing my life.
It's funny, this morning I was actually reading a book, very sad, on my Kindle about productivity, and it said there are basically 3 rules. Number 1 is to make a list of everything you need to do. Okay, quite simple, just get it all down on paper, get it out your brain, get it on paper. Number 2, put it in the order of importance or urgency. Yeah, that seems quite straightforward. And number 3, just do it. So you know what you've got to do, in what order, you just need to execute it. And that is basically productivity. 3 simple steps. However, real world, it doesn't quite work like that, does it?
No. And one thing that could get you into the weeds with that is if that to-do list gets too long. I mean, how do you prioritize? How do you decide what's urgent and what's important? Because if you're not planning ahead, then something that is urgent might not necessarily be important, and it also might be urgent on somebody else's agenda, not on yours. So you have to be very clear what your priorities are, which is where planning comes in. If you don't plan ahead yearly, monthly, weekly, even daily, then you might get taken off course. So if you don't know where you're going, a very good book that I will recommend is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. And he says, put your ladder up against the correct wall and make sure you're climbing it. Because if the ladder's not up against the correct wall, you're not going in the right direction. And that's very easy to get pushed away from where you want to go because of other people's agendas. Have you read that book?
Yeah, I have read that book, and when you were talking about the important, urgent, I can't remember who it is, but somebody has created a grid, and it's basically got 4 quadrants.
Correct.
Sort of got the important, urgent. So, once you've done your list of things, okay, for example, I've got, let's say going to the supermarket. Okay, is it important or urgent? Well, it's urgent because I've got no milk or bread, for example. Important, yeah. So I would put that in the important, urgent group. Getting my hair cut, is that important? Well, yes, but it's not urgent. So important, I can make the appointment for a date in the future. So I think that grid thing is very, very useful. And I'm making sure that your energies are in the right place at the right thing, because what is important to you could be somebody else's not important. And I think particularly if you're working in the corporate environment, as much as you may have done your to-do list the night before, as they always say, do it the night before, not the day of. Right. You'll get a phone call, you'll get an email, and your whole to-do list has just been blown out the water because of someone else's agenda.
Exactly. And you've got to make sure that you classify that task and decide which part of those 4 sections you're going to put it in. As you say, is it urgent and important? In which case, yes, you've got to do it. It goes to the top. But if it's urgent but not important, maybe you can put it halfway down the list. Speaking of something you touched on about doing the priorities and to-do list before you go to bed, do you have any nightly rituals or morning rituals that you repeat to set you up for the day or close the day before you go to bed or relax?
Absolutely, I do. And I've probably been doing these probably 2 or 3 years now. I'm very much a person who needs a schedule. I need routine. For me, planning is everything. I'm not one of these people that, oh, what are you doing today, Sheila? Oh, I've no idea. I can tell you what I'm doing for the whole day today, tomorrow, and probably next Tuesday. First thing in the morning is hydration. Sit down, drink a glass of water. And I have to sit down and drink it, because if I get a glass of water, you take one sip, put it down, go and do something else, I'll never come back to it. Sit down in that chair, drink that glass of water, take my daily vitamin pill, have a cup of coffee. 5-minute meditation. Sometimes I'll just sit in the chair and let the mind wander. Sometimes I'll concentrate on breathing. Sometimes I'll listen to a guided meditation. I'll do my daily affirmations, personal development reading. Basically, that's it. And then probably get on to some exercise. I like to do something every day, whether it's a high-intensity workout, a ballet workout, or a stretch, ab work, something like that. Shower, breakfast. Once all that's done, okay, I'm ready to go. Having that set up in the morning, I've done, and accountability. Have I meditated? Yes. 5 minutes, perfect, tick. So yeah, very much a routine person.
How long does that take, that morning ritual?
I got into this. There's a very good book called The Miracle Morning, and I can't think of the guy's name.
I know. Hal Elrod, is it?
I picked his book up probably about 2 years ago, and he basically has this Miracle Morning, and based on, I'm trying to think what the acronym is of Miracle Morning now. You start off with silence, exercise, reading, visualization. That's one thing I really struggle with, visualizing where you want to be in life, what you want to accomplish that day. That's my biggest problem, is the visualization. I don't think I'm creative to be able to visualize myself traveling around the world interviewing non-famous people on my podcast. I can't got the capacity to visualize like that. So that's one place I really do not work as well as I should. But yeah, Hal Elrod, brilliant book. Buy the book. He's got a YouTube channel, Brilliant guy.
And what's interesting about him, he had a very, very serious accident at one point and nearly died. And he developed methodology, this miracle morning, as a result of his near-death experience.
I so would recommend that book. It is absolutely brilliant. And a lot of people think, I haven't got time in the morning to exercise, to visualize, to meditate. In the book, he's got literally the whole thing in 5 minutes. So 1 minute just sitting and breathing, 1 minute just doing a stretch left and right and touch your toes, 1 minute just thinking, okay, my meeting at work today is going to go well, I'm going to be confident, I'm going to be articulate, The whole thing in 5 minutes. Anybody can do that. Do it while you're sitting on the loo.
It sets you up for the day as well. And I remember reading in one of the productivity books that it's really important to make your bed in the morning. And I do that now because that's one thing you can start doing as soon as you get up. It takes a second or two and you've made your bed, you've accomplished something, and then you start your day. So that simple thing of doing something like making your bed just makes me feel good now. And because it's a routine, it helps set me up for what's next.
I mean, I certainly understand the word routine will send a lot of people running to the hills. I can understand that. I think the thing is, if we try and set the tone for the day, I think that helps you during the whole day. Reading a lot of stuff on social media and different podcast things, it's accepted that we are all busy. We're all glued to our phone morning, noon and night. I mean, when you look at some of these statistics, we are picking up our phone every 40 seconds or something. I mean, I don't even switch my phone on till I'm ready to start my day because nothing is that important. I'm not in the corporate world. And I think if you are in the corporate world, it's very different because now you're available 24/7 on your phone. A lot of people are working from home, so there's no degree of division between your home life and work because most people are sitting in their bedroom at their kitchen table working. So I think with the current circumstances, it's so different. But I still think if you can put yourself first in the morning, before you pick up your phone, unless you use your phone for meditation, which I do, but I'm using it for meditation. I'm not checking my WhatsApp, Facebook. No, I'm not interested in any of that. That can all wait till later. The first thing in the morning should be about you. What matters to you?
Yeah, and it's all about developing positive habits and maybe reaching for your phone and doing something that's a distraction and it's hindering you rather than helping you. You might consider that a bad habit that you want to break, so you can convert that into a new habit. And that trigger of reaching for your phone instead of checking Facebook or going to WhatsApp or Snapchat or whatever you're into, using it for a 2 or 5 minute guided meditation changes a bad habit into a positive habit.
And one thing at the beginning of this, Craig, you said, productivity, you read the books, you know what to do, but it's actually executed. So what is your issue with that?
Habits. Exactly what I've just touched on, because especially with the lockdown, I've been thrown off track and I'm going to bed later. I'm not doing my morning ritual. I'm not doing my evening ritual. I just can't be bothered, Sheila. Does that sound bad? I've just kind of lost enthusiasm for so many things because of the situation we're experiencing. And I was okay in the beginning because I thought, oh, great. Everyone's locked at home. I can get on with work. I can go forward with projects. And that happened for a while. And then at some stage, I've just got lazy, lethargic. And that's where I am at the moment. So I've got to try and pull myself out of that and change my habits into better habits. And as I said at the beginning, I know how to do it. It's just a matter of giving myself a good kick up the bum and actually doing it.
I mean, I think that's a very valid point because particularly for us in Valencia, we went into lockdown on the 14th of March for 12 weeks. Originally, it was for 2 weeks and another 2 weeks, another 2 weeks. And I think, I know for me and my husband, the first week we just top to toe cleaned the whole house and went on a complete mission. Then we got into a routine, right? 11 o'clock in the morning, we're going to brew a pot of coffee and sit down, and we were exercising on the balcony. You know, we really got into a routine very, very quickly. And we passed the 12 weeks absolutely fine. We were very lucky. We've both got plenty of hobbies and activities to keep us going. I think in that instance, it was a novelty. It was strict. You know, in Spain here, we did the 8 o'clock clapping for the whole 12 weeks. So that was a great opportunity to connect with neighbours that you'd never sort of spoken to before. Now we're in a semi-lockdown here. We're not confined to home that much, whereas we were on the 12-week. So it's all getting a bit blurry now. You know, some areas, particularly in the UK, they're in total lockdown. Some areas in a semi-lockdown. This rule at 3 o'clock, that rule at 8 o'clock. It's all a bit blurred. It's been going on for a long time. And I think we've lost sort of the momentum of, okay, well, it keeps sort of dragging on and it's getting a bit frilly now, whereas it was, you know, cast iron before.
But it's been a year. It's been a whole year almost. And
yeah,
in the beginning, I agree with you. We were very similar with our enthusiasm and our habits to kind of get through this. And after time, it wears on you. And even though it's not an official national lockdown at the moment, as we're recording this, it's pretty much the same as it was back in April and May. It's pretty strict. You know, we can't socialize. We can't. All the cafes and bars are closed. We can't see friends. We can't intermingle with other households. So yeah, I'm finding it quite tough. I know there are people who are a lot worse off. But still, I'm struggling with it at the moment.
I think for me, one of the things I've been doing, and particularly when I read The Miracle Morning, is I do an accountability chart for the whole year. So basically a little spreadsheet, 12 months, 31 days. Did I do my meditation today? Tick. Did I exercise today? Tick. Yeah. What did I do? Okay, I did my ballet today. Perfect. For me, when you look at that piece of paper, which is in my planner every morning, okay, I can look at that, and I've kept these for like the last couple of years, and I can see, okay, I exercised 20 days out of 31 this month. That's not bad. I read my personal development book for 31 days of this month. Gold star, Sheila. For me, it works. You know, whether that is going back to the school and, you know, you did a piece of work at school and you got a gold star from the teacher, or whether it was all covered in red pen, whatever. Maybe we need that accountability, that motivation to say, okay, wow, this is what I've done this month. It hasn't been perfect. I've done 20 out of 31, but that's still pretty good.
So you're using a spreadsheet for that. I'm holding something up to the webcam, which is really, really bad audio. But it's called the Clever Fox Daily Planner. Oh. And it's something I bought that does exactly what you're saying. But because you love paper so much, I think you should have a look at it. And it's exactly that. It's a weekly review. It's a yearly planner. It doesn't have dates, so you write in your own dates when you want to record something. There's a to-do list. There's a rate your productivity. It's today's priorities. There's a main goal on a weekly and daily basis. And it has pretty much everything we've spoken about so far in one planner. Now, it's not cheap. It's very good quality. So it will take a good fountain pen ink. And I actually absolutely love it. But I've left it for a month. I haven't used it, which is okay because I can write my dates in. But again, if anyone's interested in this, it's called the Clever Fox Daily Planner.
Yeah.
And it's available on Amazon.
One thing that has just struck me, Craig, while you was talking about that, I think you are the first man ever had a conversation with about planning and productivity. So for me, it's quite unusual for a man to say, my husband's not interested in planning. You know, trying to get him to write something on the calendar is a complete nightmare. So it's maybe planning. I mean, because a lot of the people I follow are women who use planners and organisation charts and all this, that and the other. So, yeah, I mean, power to you, Craig.
Thank you very much. I do get a lot of my influence from men. Two of my favourite productivity podcasts are Asian Efficiency, which is out of the US, and it's a company started by an Asian guy, and now he has a team, and they podcast about all things productivity and planning. And the other one is Beyond the To-Do List by Eric Fisher, Fisher, and he's very good also, and he interviews people on productivity, taking it beyond the to-do list, as the title says. So he speaks a lot about different apps you can use. There's a lot about the digital space. Those two are hosted by men, and a lot of the books I read have been written by men. And I don't know many females in a productivity space that have been really successful on a commercial level. Yeah. So I suppose I don't know many females apart from you now, Sheila, that are into productivity.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? You know, we've got a different eye view as to who is the target audience for productivity. I mean, a book I'm reading at the moment, I have a productivity or a personal development book every month. And the one I'm reading at the moment is called Kaizen, and it's written by, I guess, a Japanese woman whose name I'm not even going to attempt. And it's really interesting. It's sort of, because Kaizen basically means continual improvement. And I came across this years and years ago, and I'm starting to read this book now. And she's going through your whole life, your personal life, your home, your work, how you can make these improvements. And it's a nice, easy read. You know, you can sit down with a cup of coffee. You haven't got to sort of sit down and study it. And it's really good. She gives you some background. She gives you some few hints and tips. I wouldn't say it goes that deep, but a lot of it, you read it and you go, that's a really good idea. And that's actually quite simple. I think, I mean, there is so much stuff out there. I mean, for me, I like to read a book. I like to watch a YouTube video about it. And there are hundreds and thousands if you put in about planners, planning, checklists, accountability. I mean, the whole world just opens up. It's absolutely incredible. For me personally, I like an A5 planner. I mean, I got into Kikki K when I went to Australia. I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago. I'd heard of Kikki K, beautiful leather planners, nice pens, stationery items. And we arrived in Australia, and the first city we went to, I think, was Perth. And I had my list. I'd done all my research. I walked into the shop, introduced myself to one of the sales staff. This is my first visit to Kikki K. I'm just beyond excited. Here's my list. And I think I spent about $200. I left my husband outside having a coffee. So I said,
having a nervous breakdown because you had the Visa card.
Everything I want. Could you just come and pay? Well, haven't you got any money? Well, yes, I have. But so why do you want me to come and pay? Well, basically, I haven't got enough, darling. So, okay, well, you went into the shop. Oh, $200. And we came out with this bag, which was just the biggest carrier bag I've ever seen in my life. And every time I go to the UK, I would go and have a bit of a spend up in Kikki K. Unfortunately, she's had to put her company into administration, but I think it has been bought by the American group Erin Condren.
How do you spell that, Kikki K?
Kikki, because the woman behind it is Christina Carlson, who's from Sweden, and her nickname was Kikki. So one of her dreams was to open up a stationery brand with rather like IKEA, you know, it's simple, straightforward, does what it says on the tin. And yeah, I mean, all my planners, I mean, if I have to make a confession, I've probably got about 8 planners. And I'm sure, what the hell do you need 8 planners? Well, one is for this and one. I can justify it. Trust me, I can justify it.
So you obviously separate personal and, let's say, business, like the podcast, for example, would be a separate planner, right? So you said that you weren't too big on digital. Do you use any digital tools like Google Calendar, for example, or Trello or anything like that?
I've investigated them and I just don't get on with them at all. So basically, I've made my own A4 monthly calendar. I just go in, amend the dates and put in different things and print it off, and that gets, for me, with my Kikki K, I've got my planner, and my best investment ever was on Amazon. You can buy a 6-hole punch for A5 planners. It's adjustable. It was something like £9. The first one arrived. It came from China. I thought, well, let's see what it's like. It's absolutely brilliant. And I straight away bought a second one as a backup. I had to go to a desert island.
Because God forbid, if you didn't have your hole punch, what would life be like?
Yeah. So now you can buy any paper you like, you can punch holes in it, and you create your own planners. Get yourself a laminator, get yourself some nice cards. Christmas cards make lovely dividers, birthday cards, all sorts of things. A piece of paper out of a magazine you like, whack it through the laminator, punch your holes in, you got your homemade divider. I mean, there are videos on YouTube, people showing you how to do all this stuff. But yeah, make up your own planners as to what you want it to be.
Interesting. No, that's an interesting take on it. I have a mixture. It's kind of a hybrid approach. So I've got Google Calendar for the hard landscape of the day and the week. So things that I put on Google Calendar would be this podcast recording, for example, because that's something I can't move. It's something that's not flexible. So I've got my classes that I teach. I've got my, let's say it's a doctor's appointment. Let's say an online meeting. That goes on Google Calendar. So the first thing I do in the morning is look at the hard landscape and say, okay, what things have I committed to today or over the week? And if I don't have anything on there, then I go to the paper planner, which has my projects, goals for the day, for the week, for the month. And then I start working down what you would call your to-do list, which is very similar for me, and then according to priority. But I can't go to that paper planner if there's something on my Google Calendar. And that Google Calendar is on my main computer. And of course, it's also on my mobile phone. So if I'm out anywhere and someone wants to make an appointment, I can immediately see how the week looks and when I can fit people in.
I just don't like technology. I just find it very confusing. I'm not interested in it.
Yet you have a successful podcast. How do you justify that?
Well, I think with an awful lot of support from my husband and for you, Craig, because actually going back, do a podcast on your podcast.
That's a long time ago.
I think it was about 6 years ago, and you invited me and Pete as guests to talk about our experience and moving to another country. And I remember we sat there and you had the microphone, we had the headphones, and you had all the WYSIWYG box and everything. And I was just, oh my God, I found Nirvana. And you said to me, Sheila, if you ever want to start a podcast, let me know. I'll help you. And I remember when I set myself the goal of starting this podcast, which was the latter end of last year, you and I had a conversation and I said, Craig, do you remember when we did the podcast? And I think you worked it out. It was quite a few years ago. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, there you go. Something you said maybe 6, 7, 8 years ago. We're now at that point. Can you help me?
I'm really pleased I sowed the seed. But basically, if you can click a mouse, you can create a podcast. And if you're passionate about communication, which you obviously are, then it's just a matter of learning 1 or 2 steps, which you're doing, and you're doing really well with the podcast. So anyone listening to this who would like to start a podcast and do what Sheila's doing, it isn't that difficult. You just have to know a couple of basic things. And if you can use a mouse, you're away.
For me, my sort of mantra word for this year was growth. With the podcast, I could have kept do this, do that, do this, do that. You'll never get it to perfection. And I remember when I recorded the first podcast with Pete, he said, well, when are you going to publish this? Oh, God, no, we can't publish it. I've got to do this. He said, should we just press the button? And we pressed the button and we sent the podcast out there. And I remember I just got up from the chair and said, okay, I'm going to go and do the washing up now. It was too big for me to get my head round. I had to distance myself from it. A couple of hours later, did we really publish that? Is it really out? Have we actually done it? And then it was just this feeling of, oh my God, we've done it. So my word of growth, I probably would have kept on, no, the podcast will be ready in February, it'll be ready in March, it'll be ready.
Waiting for perfection.
Waiting for that when it's ready. But no, we did it and it's the best thing ever. And I absolutely love what I'm doing. The growth obviously is in the podcasting and particularly in the technical side. I'm learning more than I ever would have done otherwise.
Brilliant. That's fantastic. And you can't improve something if you haven't started it. It's like learning a language. You can't study books and expect to open your mouth and have that foreign language just come out perfectly. You have to make mistakes. You have to grow and learn. It's a process. It's a perfect word, growth, because if you don't start and improve something, you're never going to get to that goal that you've got of perfection. And you have to work towards that. It's a process.
I think I'm a perfectionist as well as it can really be a problem, because it almost makes you paralyzed, because it's rather like going back to the notebook. I've got this beautiful notebook. Sometimes you've just got to say, forget it and just do it. It's only a notebook. It can be replaced. It's not the end of the world. You can rip the page out. Nobody will be any the wiser. Being this perfectionist really can cause a problem. For me, procrastination is my biggest problem. And one thing I've worked out this year, procrastination wears many different hats. Once you can identify why you're procrastinating, and for me, is it overwhelmed with what I've got to do? For example, I'm living in Spain, but I certainly need to improve my level of Spanish. Where do you start? Do you try and read more grammar, more conversation, more listening, more writing, feelings of overwhelm? Is it you don't know where to start? Starting a podcast. Where do I start? Do I watch a video? Do I listen to more podcasts? And once you break down where your procrastination is, and I've actually written myself a little list. So when I feel I'm procrastinating, why? Is it I'm tired? Am I just having a lazy day, as you say? Because of the current situation, sometimes we just lose the motivation. So is it I'm just having a bit of a day to day, so I'm just going to sit and watch something on Netflix? That's fine, as long as it's one day. If you're doing that for 3 weeks solid, you're in trouble. But for me, why am I procrastinating? Look at my little list and go, okay, I'm procrastinating because of overwhelm. Right, well, let's just do a brain dump, all the different things, and then just pick something simple. And another tip is, if you don't want to do something like, for example, Spanish grammar, pick a topic, put 15 minutes on your mobile phone, read the Spanish grammar or watch the video, whatever you've got to do for 15 minutes. When that alarm goes off, stop and go and do something else. And then say, have I studied Spanish grammar? Yes, tick. Okay, it's only for 15 minutes. It's not too much to be overwhelmed. Even if you understand one small point, you've had a good day, gold star. Those little tips really do work. It's about understanding yourself, what works for you and what doesn't.
Very often people do get overwhelmed by a task that seems like a huge mountain to climb. Let's imagine you've always wanted to write a book, and you think, oh my God, write a book. That's going to, how do you start? Well, how do you start? You could start with a plan and plan out each chapter and each part of the book, or you could commit yourself to write a rough draft of 150 words a day. Now, can you do 150 words a day? Breaking it down into very small steps suddenly makes it achievable.
Exactly.
And another example is flossing your teeth and going back to habits again. Why don't you just flossing my teeth twice? Why don't you just agree to floss one tooth a day for a week? Can you do that?
Yeah.
What will probably happen is you won't stop at one tooth. If you make it one tooth, then away you go. That breaking down into small steps that makes the task achievable and doable. And another excuse people sometimes give for procrastination is time. Oh, I haven't got enough time in the day. Well, that either means you don't want to do it enough, or you're doing things that really aren't productive and aren't meaningful, like 3 hours of Netflix every night. Couldn't you cut that Netflix down to an hour? Then you'd have 2-3 hours to do the thing that's on your list that you never get round to because you don't have time. Sometimes not having time really means I don't want to do it enough.
Exactly, it's an excuse.
Especially with languages and learning different languages.
That's right. And for me, I've been using the 30-minute technique for absolutely ages, which is the Pomodoro Technique, where you do 30 minutes or 40 minutes, whatever works for you. Because you've only got to sit there with that grammar book for 30 minutes. And so many times the alarm will go off. I'm so in the zone. The next time I look up, it's been 2 hours. Putting habits together. So if you want to, let's say you want to drink more water first thing in the morning. I'm not very good at drinking water at all. First thing in the morning, you put the kettle on. While the kettle is boiling, you get that glass of water And I've got a little tray with a glass of water, a cup of coffee, and both have to be drunk while I'm doing my morning habits. So basically, I've linked the drinking water with the coffee, with the habits, and it's the whole thing.
Yeah, so you're using triggers. The trigger of doing one thing leads you to the next, and it creates a chain.
Because I've got this whole morning ritual, okay, so I've added in the drink of water with the coffee while I'm reading and that sort of thing. It's quite easy to just add one little thing into something else, an existing habit. Maybe while you're cleaning your teeth or flossing your teeth, you've got Spanish verbs on the mirror, or maybe you put your ideas on the mirror for the book you want to write or something. So while you're sort of aimlessly doing your teeth, you're reading through, okay, well, I've got a couple of characters and I know it's going to be set in the south of France and there's going to be a murder.
So I'm curious, and I know this is getting maybe into the weeds maybe a bit too much, but when you're recording your daily morning ritual, I think you said you're using an Excel spreadsheet. So are you ticking off on a daily basis the whole morning ritual, or are you ticking off what you've done inside that ritual, like drinking the glass of water, doing your meditation, reading? Are they separate things that need to be done, ticked off, or is it all in one thing?
Each ritual has its own A5 hole punch page, because we have 12 months at the top, 31 days down the bottom. So in theory, the A5 pages for every day is the 365. And that's really good, because you can think, okay, I did really well in March, but April was a bit dodgy. Maybe lots of things were happening. So for every ritual, the PD reading, and on the back, I've written, okay, the personal development book for January is this, for February it's that, for Wednesday. So when you hear, the books you're recommending, all right, I'll put those in pencil so I know when I'm looking for a book, maybe for April, then, Craig suggested that book, I'll order that now, sort of. So everything is in one A5 planner, and then you've got all the spreadsheets for all the different sort of routines. I mean, my friends who will listen to this, they would probably have switched off after the first 3 minutes. This would so not be there.
Or maybe they're looking on Amazon as we speak, ordering their planners. You just don't know, do you?
Let's say when I start talking about this type of thing, there's a lot of eye rolling and, I must just go and polish the family silver, this type of thing. I do understand it's not everybody's cup of tea.
Absolutely. Can I ask you if you've read a book, speaking of books, called Getting Things Done by David Allen?
I have, yes, and he does the 44 folder system, I think it's called, is it?
No, that's Merlin Mann.
I thought David Allen did.
David Allen is GTD, Getting Things Done, and he has it's my personal Bible of productivity, and I read it every year.
I thought he did the 44 folders as well.
No, that's Merlin Mann. Merlin Mann is a big proponent of David Allen. He quotes him a lot, and he incorporates his system. And he has got also, Merlin Mann has got a very good podcast with Dan Benjamin on the 5x5 network, and it's called Back to Work. It doesn't really, I haven't recommended it with the other podcast because it doesn't focus specifically on productivity. They talk about anything. Merlin Mann has podcasts about productivity as well. Yeah. He's the 44 folders guy.
Right.
And he's also, and something we haven't spoken about, he's also the inbox zero guy. The idea that you have to keep your emails at zero. And how do you do that? Well, then you create folders in your inbox so that you can put things in folders that are pending, that may be waiting for a reply, and you're putting in folders things that you've delegated. Let's say that you need shelves for the kitchen, and you've told your husband to get them, then that will be put in the delegated folder until the shelves are up, and then you bring it out. So it's the idea of keeping that inbox to zero so that you don't get overwhelmed by having hundreds of emails waiting to be dealt with. And he also says something he got from David Allen, which is, if you can do a task in 5 minutes, do it now. Don't delay it. If it's an email that's making an appointment and the only thing you've got to do is put it on your calendar, then put it on your calendar. Don't keep it in your inbox. Now get it out the way. It's a 5-minute job, and that gets rid of that. So he's all about getting your emails down to a manageable 0, or at least no more than 2 or 3 on a daily basis. And that keeps the clutter out of your head.
Not working in the corporate world anymore, thank God. I hate to think what it must be like for people working in corporate now, because when I did work in corporate, you got masses of emails that were really nothing to do with you. And I think now, particularly when people are working remotely, it must be 10 times worse. And, you've got your mobile phone ringing, you've got these emails coming in, you're trying to do whatever your work is, you've got the kids at home. I mean, my heart goes out to people in that situation. I mean, I am just so thankful I'm not in that corporate world at the moment, and speaking to people who are, it's been a huge learning curve for them. And the biggest thing has been separating work and home time, especially if you're working at the dining room table or the kitchen table. It's just...
Yeah, and you're homeschooling your kids as well in the same room. It must be a nightmare for some people, which is what I said at the beginning. I'm feeling a bit down, but I know that there are people who are struggling. Either they've lost their job, they're on furlough, they're struggling at home, working in a makeshift office with kids around. And it's tough for many people. But hopefully we can help a little bit with productivity tips.
Well, I'd like to think so. And, if anybody who's listening to this podcast wants to comment or have got some ideas, or you want further information, because I think, Craig, we're going to have to do a return podcast on this one, I think, because there is so much stuff that I've got plenty of notes that I've made here myself, the things to look into. So, I think it's been absolutely fascinating. I know some of my friends, they'll be rolling their eyes at, oh my God, productivity. Sheila, we can't believe it's taken you so long to get somebody on the podcast about productivity. So
well, look at it this way. If they have gone to polish their silver, at least they can listen to the podcast at the same time that they're polishing. Because you can multitask.
Absolutely. I do have a little bit of family silver, very small bit, but I do have some. And I have to say, I'm always saying to my husband, why don't we listen to a podcast while we're doing the family silver? And I remember right at the very beginning, when we were in our 12-week lockdown, we were listening to a BBC podcast called The Crypto Queen. And it was all about a woman who basically had this scam going. And we would sit down, if we had a mundane job to do, like the ironing or a bit polishing the family silver, and you forget about polishing, you are so enthralled in listening to the podcast. So maybe, how about if the listeners want to listen to the podcast while they're doing something like, I don't know, flossing their teeth, cleaning the family silver, grooming the dog. Yeah, let's, one habit, let's do the habit of listening to a podcast, link it with another habit.
Exactly. Even driving, doing exercise. Yeah, brilliant idea.
I mean, this is how I used to listen to loads and loads of podcasts, walking around the city on public transport. Now I'm basically defined to barracks, but I'm listening to a podcast at 4 o'clock in the morning when I can't sleep, which is great, because sometimes you think, oh my God, I've listened to like 3 podcasts, 2 hours later, or listen to one before I get up at sort of 7 o'clock, listen to a half-hour podcast. If you are one of these people who take your phone to bed, use it to listen to a podcast. There's some great ones out there. There's some brilliant podcasts on just about any topic you can think of.
Including productivity.
Well, Craig, it's been absolutely brilliant. And we have been so lucky. We've been going for 50 minutes. Skype has shone on us this morning.
It has behaved well.
I am so impressed. I feel more confident now using Skype. Now I've got it all sorted. So, Craig, thank you so much. It's been absolutely brilliant. I've learned so much. I've got some notes here to look at a later date after the podcast. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure to talk about productivity, and thank you for teaching me that it's possible now to record with Skype. I did not know that, so thank you. I've learned something.
Yes, I mean, I'm just so lucky the connection has held. So thank you very much, Mr. Skype. So, Craig, thank you very much. And yes, I'm definitely going to be inviting you back, because I think we might get quite a few comments and suggestions on this one.
I'll look forward to it. Thanks a lot, Sheila.
Bye, Craig.
Bye.
I hope you have enjoyed the conversation. Don't forget, if you have a story you would like to tell, please get in touch. My email address is allaboutyoupodcast@yahoo.com, and thank you for listening.